Tonight's guest is an American actor and singer-songwriter. He was born in Washington, D.C. He's appeared in a number of movies and television shows ranging from The Rookie, Dynasty, The Magicians, Notorious, Shameless, and countless others. He's probably best known as Luke Parker in The Vampire Diaries, and he also played Ray in Lemonade Mouth and Timmy Hamilton in Soul Surfer. Currently, you can see him starring in the sci-fi thriller Zero Contact opposite the legendary Sir Anthony Hopkins. So without further ado, let me toss it over to B. Please welcome to the show, Chris Brochu, everybody. Yay! How's it going, man? How you doing, bud?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, I'm so excited to talk to you tonight. It was so much to cover. We're gonna get into Zero Contact because I think it's an awesome movie. We had Alex on the show a couple weeks ago. So excited to talk to you. But first and foremost, I got to do my due diligence.
Do it.
For you? What's your military connection?
Well, my military connection is I'm an Army brat. My dad was in the military for over 25 years. Born in Tennessee, North Carolina, lived outside of Fort Bragg, lived on MacDill Air Force Base for a little bit in Florida. My dad worked government contract jobs in California. So I've been on and off bases my entire life. So huge love for the military and for just honestly, I don't think I could be in this situation if I wasn't a military brat, if I wasn't moving all the time and having to adapt and survive and make new friends. And I think it definitely helped get me to where I am today, for sure.
Now, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but do you think that, being a military member and knowing what families go through and what the guys go through, especially at a young age, a formative age, do you think having to move around because you have to make friends quickly, you have to almost become a chameleon, right? You have to blend into any environment. Do you think all of that lended to you becoming an actor and being as good of an actor as you are?
I think so. I definitely, I don't think I could have gotten here without it. And, that's life in general, right? I think we go through specific things and, it's nurture and nature. I don't believe in nurture versus nature. It's both things that lend us to make us who we are. So I think a lot of that definitely was beneficial. I think the main thing that's beneficial within the acting side of things is just like the work ethic that I was given as a child and different expectations that were, expected of me. Mm-hmm. So And definitely that chameleon aspect, like going to new places, making new friends, and not necessarily letting all of that be too daunting, and just kind of going into every situation and do the best you can. And if you make friends, you do. If you don't, it's part of the deal, I guess.
You learn.
That's great.
So I know you were born in Washington, D.C., the state, the capital of the country. Where do you call home? Like, obviously before becoming an actor, when you think back to your childhood, like what's home for you?
Yeah. And actually the D.C. thing is the one thing that the internet got wrong. I was actually born in Tennessee. I was born in Clarksville.
We're gonna have to fix that. We're gonna have to fix that.
You know what? We'll just let the internet. We can keep as much. If we can keep as much away from the internet as possible, let's just let it keep going down.
There you go. Path. For all intents and purposes, you were born in D.C.
That's right.
So where do you think of as home?
The interesting thing about that is I never really considered any place home. The longest place I'd ever been anywhere was California. So I was there about 15 years or so, which is the longest place I'd ever been anywhere. I always like to say I was born in Tennessee. My childhood was North Carolina. My teenage years were Florida. And then growing up was California. But as far as home is concerned, during the pandemic, at the beginning of the first year of maybe halfway through 2020, my wife and I had the opportunity to move to Taos, New Mexico. And that's currently where we are. And to be honest, it has the realest sense of home that of a place I've ever been in. Mm-hmm. And so it feels nice to after moving around all these different places, to come to a place that really feels safe, secure.
Yeah, it's your little kingdom, man. You got
Yeah.
the king of your castle. Let me ask you. So I'm trying to build a foundation here, right? So
Yep.
who are you as a kid? What were you like? Who was Chris at a young age?
I think Chris at a young age was highly energetic, definitely sometimes cocky kid, who I believe, like anything's a possibility. I like grand plans. I like improbable situations. I like a little bit of chaos as well. So I think my childhood was a lot of navigating that aspects of my personality for sure, and growing up into to be a man, and really trying to suppress some of those negative aspects of my ego and my pride. So that was kind of like the internal, but at the same time, I'm a nature boy. I'm if I have the luxury of a day off, I'll be in the woods or by the river, and that's kind of where I feel at home.
Nice.
So that's a little taste of
okay.
younger Chris.
Little off the grid. I like it.
Off the grid. Yeah.
Are you the fisher or the tent guy? Like what are you doing out there?
You know what? It depends. Like, I love backpacking, so I can do anything from being out in the woods for 5 days a week or something like that, to bringing wifey along, and we do a cute little car camping in the back of the Tacoma. Whatever works, whatever we have time for.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, you're living it, man. You're living the dream. Last question as we build this background for you. This is a pop culture show. We talk all things, comics, movies, video games, everything. Yeah. What are you a nerd for, right? And I mean, it could be history, writing, reading, whatever, anything. What is your biggest passion?
One of my biggest passions is writing music. I like lyrics a lot. I enjoy acting because it's collaborative. You've got a writer, you got a director, you've got these producers, you got everybody that has an idea based off of this one piece of art, a script. And everybody's got an idea, and we're collaborating. We're trying to figure this out, and I really enjoy that. I also, for my own personal sanity, therapy, expression, it's something I can't really get away from, is music and lyrics. And so that's kind of what I geek out on a little bit, is songs, music, and definitely lyrics.
What are you listening to right now? What's your go-to right now? Give us some knowledge.
I mean, right now it's Kendrick Lamar's new album.
Okay.
I've just kind of been listening to that on repeat. And so I've got a lot of different musical influences, sure. Everything from, James Taylor to Kendrick Lamar to Kanye to sometimes back in the day, a little bit of Taylor Swift. I can find little tasty treats in every single genre.
Sure.
So yeah,
that's awesome. Right. Okay. So, you grew up, you bounced around, you did all this stuff. At what point did you start to realize, okay, maybe this acting thing is what I want to pursue? How did that come about?
So I was in Florida, had to been 15 or 16. And my sister was always very interested in theater, very, very dramatic. And one day this acting school called. I think they were doing cold calls to get students in. And we ended up going for an audition. I didn't get in. My sister and brother got in. And it was kind of one of those things where, whatever, man. I want to play hockey anyway. That's what I want to do. I want to go to college, play hockey. That's good. That's my dream. And one day practice was canceled and I had to take them to acting class, and I was sitting in the waiting room and they were like, you just want to play in the improv class? I was like, all right, sure. Had a little bit of fun, got some laughs, thought, well, this is kind of interesting, right? There's definitely some vulnerability that is always a part of it. And so when you kind of step out in that vulnerable place and there's some positive reinforcement, it felt really nice. So then, long story short, we found our way to Los Angeles, which is its own story in and of itself, and then started booking some shows. My brother, so my dad was still working on MacDill in Florida at the time, and my brother's sister, my mom, another mother, and some other kind of students from that acting class. We all saved up enough money to rent a house in Reseda, California for 3 months. And we went out to see if we could, make it happen or just kind of get a taste for it. And we never left. And it was 15 years in California, just on that grind, just auditioning, booking here and there. It's feast and famine. Once I got to be about 22, I had to kind of ask myself, all right, Chris, man, you're on this path. It wasn't anything I ever dreamed about. And I found myself interested and really enjoying the process of it. And so then I just told myself, well, listen, if you're going to do this, you have to aim to be the best at it. Not to assume I am or ever will be, but it's most certainly the goal. And so that's when I started taking acting classes. That's when I started really focusing on the craft, reading books, figuring out what those before me did to pave this path for this art form.
Yeah, there is what's the old Yoda quote? There is no, it's do or do not, right? There's no try. Like
yes,
if you're gonna do it, you gotta all in. Yes. I love that. I've heard a lot of actors who are like I didn't have a plan B. Like if this was it. I had to be all in to do it. So that's awesome. A lot of actors get classified and categorized: method actor, dramatic actor, comedic actor, character actor, right? Bit player. Yeah. Where do you see yourself? What kind of actor are you?
I think for the most part, I'm a dramatic actor. I've definitely I would love to do some comedies. I've done a couple comedies in the past, which is a lot of fun. There's a lot of freedom in that. But for me, honestly, I'm an actor who does the work, and I believe that the right projects come to me. So I will audition my hardest for every single role that I get. And majority of them I will not get. And that is fine, because the right ones come to you. And I believe that's another one of those things. If you are pursuing any type of artistic career, you just have to keep pushing. You just have to put in the work, not worry about what the odds are, not worry about what other people my age are doing. You're on your own path. The only thing you have control over is the work. And if that's what you focus on, the rest figures itself out. I'm very much a believer that the universe rewards you for the work that you put in and Absolutely. Your intention behind the work.
Yeah, you have to be ready for when the opportunity is presented, right? That's you have to do what you can do and let the universe sort itself out. I love it. I absolutely love that. Can you tell me, what was that feeling the first time you saw yourself on the screen, on the big screen, on the small screen, like that first time where you're like, man, I did this thing and now it's out there? What was that feeling like?
I'm trying to think of the first one, because it's interesting with acting. Like you can film something, but it might not come out in that order. Like It could sit for a couple of years and other projects come out first.
So I see, was it 2007? There was an episode of Unfabulous and Zoe 101. The movies Pose Down and Solar Flare in 2008. So when you're seeing yourself up there and you're seeing yourself on these, what are you feeling?
It's just a bit surreal. And I think there's two sides of it. There's the side of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this and that this happened. And then there's the side of the critical and watching myself like a hawk and figuring out, okay, it could have been a little bit more invested there. Oh, I wish I would have known a little bit more about that before that moment, things of that nature. So there's definitely the part of me that freaks out, and it's this exciting, I can't believe this is my life right now. And then there's the other side of, I think anytime you do something that's kind of creative, there's always, you're going to be your biggest critic, hopefully.
Yeah. So I've talked to a lot of actors, and some of those guys that are like, I'll never watch anything I've ever done, or I'll
Yeah.
watch it one time and then move on, or I watch it as much as I can? Where do you kind of fall in that spectrum?
I wanted to be the actor that didn't watch anything. But I enjoy most of the time when I see it, it's at a premiere or something of that nature, or like a viewing with the cast and the director. So that's fun because, you know, when you're on set, you control what you control. You control your performance. You control what's happening in the scene. But once that's done, you have zero control. It's editing. It's everything else that goes into making a film, scoring, things of that nature. So it's, like I said, the collaboration aspect of things is one of the things that I love so much about it, because you couldn't have a movie without, you know, a good director or a good actor or a good editor or a good soundtrack, right? So when all of those things come together, it's this really fun experience. And again, it's that there's that giddy aspect of me, but there's also that critical aspect. And sometimes I'll go back and watch some films that I did in the past just to kind of see how they hold up. But for the most part, I'll watch it once and then I'll take my notes. I'll let that affect me however it does. And I just keep moving on. Not really worry about anything past then.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you, you've been doing this a couple years now, but it's recent enough that I'm sure you can still kind of remember the other side of it. So is there any misconception that you had about doing this as a career from before, like that you learned a lesson after you kind of got into it?
I mean, I'm similar to Alex in that sense, where I was watching your guys' interview and he said the first audition he booked. And it was similar for me. I was in Florida. Pose Down was the film that you mentioned earlier. And I was this flashback of this younger kind of like bodybuilder. And to be honest with you, I would love to watch it again because it'd be interesting to see it, because I can't even fully remember what the storyline was. But after I did that, it was like young Chris playing a flashback, not too much kind of pressure. I believe one of my scenes was like being on a beach, kissing a girl. And I was like, this is fun and this is pretty easy. I think I can do this. And then you go out to California, you get into the big leagues and you're like, oh, this is proper work. And so I think there's that misconception that if you see a good acting performance, it's most certainly not because it's easy. It is because that actor has put in hours figuring out exactly what makes this character tick and trying to bring you that authentically so that you can actually be connected to that. So that work, that process is something I knew nothing about at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And now, so moving into, you've done a lot of stuff. I mean, I see episodes of The Mentalist and Melissa and Joey, NCIS, CSI, and obviously for me, like the standout is kind of like The Vampire Diaries. That's a big one. You play Luke Parker on the series. What was that whole experience like, being there and kind of getting into the grind of it?
Vampire Diaries for me was it was probably the project that gave me peace within the process of acting. I have a video on my YouTube channel that touches this, but essentially with Vampire Diaries, it came at the exact right time. So professionally, amazing show, fantastic fans. I was what was known as a guest star, possibly reoccurring. So I go there thinking, okay, I'm going to do an episode. And if things go well, you do a couple more episodes. Thankfully, the creators of the show and the fans accepted me. And so I got to do 14 episodes over the course of 2 seasons, which was just a huge blessing. But the reason why it gave me peace was because literally right before I got the call that I booked that show, I had gotten the call that I had the, not revelation, but I had the doctor call and tell me that I had skin cancer. So I was mentally dealing with this thought of, I'm about to be like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because I got to have surgery. I got to do all this shit. I'm stressed out. This is just like, is this my life? Then I get the call that I book this part. And literally the same day, or if not the same day, within days of it, I find out that I'm going to have really good health insurance through SAG. I figure out that I'm going to have money to be able to pay doctor bills. There are scenes in that show that I'm getting bodied, getting choked or thrown around, and I literally have stitches in my back, and I've got a suction cup bag that's trying to keep fluid, out of my armpit. And I kept that a secret from everybody on set. I basically told them like I had a surfing accident and, things happen. But anyway, all of these things happened at one time, and it made me realize, because I can, when you look at a spider web or a spider that's creating web, you can kind of backtrack and see what was needed to make it and make the structure of your reality. And to be able to have that feeling of, I'm going to be taken care of. The universe is going to reward my work. Again, if my intention is correct, nobody's perfect, but hopefully we have some aim that is somewhat honorable and keeps our moral compass centered. That was the project for me that solidified, okay, I can do this, and I can do this and be taken care of as well. So it was a big project for me.
That's amazing. It goes back to being right in the mind, and then the opportunity, being prepared, the opportunity presents itself, and you're ready to go. Like that's so cool. And I mean, you've done spots on Shameless, Notorious, The Magicians, Dynasty, like all these really incredible shows. Do you have any standout moments or kind of tidbits from behind the scenes that would be, cool side stories?
I
mean, I'm sure a lot of things you can't talk about.
Yeah, I'm like trying to let's pick one project.
Yeah.
For me, I'll go with Recon, because that was the last film that I did with Rick Dugdale, who is our producer director for Zero Contact. And behind the scenes for that was one of those projects that I got, and it put the fear of God in me in many different ways, because I'm working with Alexander Ludwig from Vikings. I got Sam Neely from oh my gosh, what was the show we just did? Kin.
Yes.
Kin. It's fantastic. And then Franco Nero, this legendary actor. And so every day I woke up scared. I woke up scared that in my mind I was either going to make this movie, or I was going to literally be the worst part of this movie and my acting career's done, and that's just how it's going to go. So I woke up and went to sleep with that fear every single day, which pushed me again to just work harder. I'd go to set, I'd do what we were shooting for that day, I'd come back, I'd run the scenes again for the next day in front of, the gas fireplace in Canada, and just putting in the work allowed me the peace of mind. But behind the scenes, the interesting aspect of that film is we shot in some gnarly conditions. We were shooting a World War II period piece. We were in the garb. We were in the snow. We had the guns. We had no gloves. We were at base camps that were made to look like what they would be in World War II. And it was one of those, again, I'm a military brat, but I'm most certainly, I am not, I'm ignorant to many aspects of war and the process of it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And to be there, looking at these tents in the snow, looking at what it would have been like, it just blew my mind.
Gives you an appreciation of it, right?
It gave me a deeper respect for everybody that puts their life on the line for a country or an ideology that they believe, and just trying to put myself in those moments was something that stood out to me for sure. And hopefully if your audience, I know it's mostly military, so hopefully they can can take a look, and I'm sure there'll be definitely some critical moments because, anytime you're working with experts, people that actually been there, there's going to be a little bit of that discrepancy, but hopefully the emotionality of it hits home.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually that brings up a good point I want to ask you is there anything that, you've done, you've been a part of that for whatever reason, right? Maybe marketing or just wasn't big enough budget or whatever it is there something that you're super proud of that you wish more people would see or you want? Because now you have a whole audience that's a fan of you and they want to go back. What's that one thing that you want people to see that you've done?
I mean, Recon, I think, is that film for me. Okay. That is it's the best work that I think I've done. And when I've watched it at a couple premieres and festivals. And every time I'm proud of the work I put in, and I'm proud of just the crew, the whole team. Everybody, from actors, directors, producers to the DP, we were all in these gnarly conditions. It was cold. There were long days. And so on set, it felt special. Oh, and it's based off of this book by Richard Bosch called Peace. And so for your audience, I think they would definitely love that read. It's a fantastic book. But so anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent, but please go check out Recon.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're gonna plan like a watch all, we'll figure it out. Everybody's gonna watch the movie. We're gonna watch Recon. Let's dive into Zero Contact because I'm excited to talk about this. And obviously, while we're recording this, it hasn't come out yet. I've seen it. You were in it. But by the time this plays, it will have already been out. But I still want to avoid too many spoilers because there's some very key elements that I think it's a fun surprise. So I don't want to spoil it for those people that watch. But doing this movie, first of all, and like I said, we had Alex on for those that watched that interview. Yep. It's an incredible movie. It is a sci-fi kind of thriller, very voyeuristic in that you're this fly on the wall. You're watching this thing happen. It almost feels as if it's unfolding in real time, which is different for most movies, right? Where we're kind of jumping around. Yep. You're acting virtually opposite Sir Anthony. You're Sir Anthony Hopkins' son in this movie.
I know.
How exciting! First, how exciting is it to be like that's my dad. That's my dad.
It's absurd. It's absurd. Like it's one of those things where put in the work and see what happens. Like Alex said, this was an experiment, right? We were these creative individuals, again, led by Rick Dugdale. He's the one that put all this in motion. It's his dream, and he really brought it to life. But again, it was this experiment. It was, hey, man, we're stuck at home. Let's record a film. Originally, he wanted to release it a month or two after. He just wanted to be the first film that was made during the pandemic, released during the pandemic. And we were just on board. What else are we going to do? Let's do this. Like Alex mentioned, a script was written in a crazy short amount of time. We filmed this in a crazy short amount of time. And so it was just such a fascinating to be a part of that, to be a part of the process in more ways than just acting and being on this side of the camera was an experience I'll never forget. Because I don't know if Alex told you, literally every shot that we do was set up by us. Now we had a Zoom meeting prior, maybe a day or two before, made sure that the director and the DP all loved it, made sure the lighting looked good, background, no copyright infringements or anything that could get us in trouble. But when it came down to the shooting, it was literally, all right, Chris, you ready? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, guys. All right, camera is speeding. Sound is speeding. Okay, we're doing this scene. Okay. And then it was like, shut off that side of your brain and then get back into the creative aspect. So from beginning to end, completely unorthodox, but just a blast.
Yeah. And so this was a movie that was produced 17 different countries entirely virtual without any person on this entire project, not the actors, the writers, directors, nobody was in the same room as another person during the 2020 pandemic. I mean, it baffles the mind. The writing how they got it to there and the writing process, how I mean, it's impossible to wrap my brain around, right? Because you know better than most, like the amount of work and the amount of process that goes into making a film, making a show, whatever it is, to then say, okay, we're going to do all that over the phone. And you're your hair and makeup, you're your lighting guy, you're the sound guy. Like, does that put more pressure on you? Like, was this easier than typical, or was it more pressure on you for this?
Definitely more pressure. I mean, you can't get around it. There's just more things to do. There's more. I've never been more anxious than backing up all of the footage we just shot and just like praying that everything's there. You know what I mean? Backing it up on 2 different thumb drives or hard drives and just making sure, okay, the sound, everything we just recorded is backed up. We feel good. You know, it was stressful, but again, it's one of those things. It's like, all right, here's what's happening. We're doing this, and this. You're in charge of this. You got to get it done. And once you can wrap your mind around, okay, this is how it's going down. For me, again, a little bit of chaos, I don't mind. I can just jump in and have a blast with it because it's this new exciting experience that, like Alex said, like, yes, let's do it. Let's freaking create something. You know?
That's so cool. How weird was it for you? Because I'm assuming you shot in your own home.
Yeah.
Like, is that a weird thing to be like, you're letting an audience, a worldwide audience, basically into your home now to see what you got going on there? I mean, was that weird for you?
It was, you know what? Not really, because what I did was how that backdrop in our old place in Los Angeles, how it was set up, I basically cleared the background. And then I got to put what I wanted in there, what I thought would be interesting that also fit Sam's character in a sense. But I also got to give the audience what I wanted them to see as well. So I don't know if for those of you who watch the film, this will be in the background. And that's just like some art and just different things like that. It was fun to be, again, on that set deck side of things. So it wasn't too weird because I got to be as personal as I wanted to be. And for those who, I don't even know if you can see it, but all of the books in the background, they're all turned. So you obviously can't see the spine of it, but there's one book that has the name Susan on it. And that's my wife's name. So I made sure that one was kind of in the background, just a little.
Got to put your own little Easter eggs in there. Yeah,
that's right. Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Awesome. So let me see. I'm trying to frame this question away. A lot of acting is reacting, right? You're in the moment with that person. Sometimes even if they're not on camera, they're off to the side and they're reacting to it. This wasn't that. Alex let us know that, you know, when you're on the Zoom call recording, you had the director, you have the writers, you have the producers, whatever, but you didn't have the people you were working against. How did that change your process and how you approached the acting element of it?
It was a process of making sure that I kept the urgency up, because this is a crazy thing that's happening. Literally, the world could end. Putting myself in that mentality, fighting for my family. That's my character's main objective, and assuming and hoping that the other actors are keeping up with that urgency. Because I have to imagine, because like Alex was saying, we had the AD reading the lines, which he did a great job, but he's also not an actor, right? So it's assuming urgency coming through that individual that's reading with me. And it's just, again, it's a deeper level of the suspension of disbelief, where I have to truly believe in this environment, in these circumstances, and I also have to believe that the actors that will be um, acting opposite of me when it gets all edited together are bringing that same intensity. And I think that's obviously Rick's job to ensure that there's that, because he's directing. But for me, it was just kind of doubling down on that belief of circumstance and environment.
Yeah. And I think there's, having watched it, there's an element of things don't connect, but I feel like it works so well because, you're on a Zoom call and there's a bit of lag and there's a little delay and it just, everything feels just a little bit off, and it works well for the picture and to feel that unease, that uncomfortableness, the idea of, is this person good? Is this bad? Like, I don't know. It's this weird. It's hard to describe. When you first read this script, what are you thinking? What are you like? Are you into it? Are you like, this is weird? I mean, how are we gonna do it? What's going through your mind?
When I first read the script, I think I got up and paced around a little bit and was like, I have to read that 20 more times. Like, I literally have to. And it was kind of like I don't know if you've ever seen the movie 23 with Jim Carrey, where like the walls, everything's written on the walls and there's like arrows pointed. It was very much like that for me, figuring out, okay, there's a lot going on in this movie. There is a lot of different, well, I guess I won't say too much to get too much away, but
things.
There's a lot of technical things that are happening in this film. And again, it is sci-fi in many ways as well. So obviously understanding what my father was involved with, what my character is involved with, and how these other people that I've never met are involved in that situation as well. And again, figuring out, can I trust these people? So it's reading it the first time around was literally that revelation of, okay, I got to do this like 20 more times. And even Rick was like, can you shoot, tomorrow or the next day? And I was like, Rick, I'd give me like at least 3 days. I need 3 days to make sure that I can absorb as much of this as possible.
Yeah.
So it was, it's interesting. And I've probably watched Zero Contact more than any other film that I've ever been in. So, because as I'm going through Zero Contact 2 and 3, I have to go back to 1 to make sure that all of this is connecting and make sure I am fully on top of every little string that goes through these storylines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that, so there's another thing about this movie that I found so refreshing in this day and age where every movie, everything is very easily digestible, and it has to, this movie just is like, it throws you right into it. There is almost no exposition. Like, it is just, it's like, this guy made some stuff and he's dead now, and you're on a Zoom call and it's like, whoa. And it was very cool because right away it builds in you this suspicion of everybody, right? Yeah. I don't know who to trust. I don't know who's the good guy here. I don't know who's the bad guy. I don't know what their motives are. Is that something that you, in your performance, you dial into that? Because maybe you're good, maybe you're bad. Like, we don't really know. Maybe you're involved, maybe you're not. Is that something that you put into your performance?
I mean, absolutely. My character, Sam Hart, son of Finley Hart, but very much estranged, never was really a part of my life. And you'll figure this out in the movie. At a very young age, about 9, he lost custody of me, and I basically kept him not even at arm's length, just like was not a part of him at all. He died 5 years prior to the moment where we catch up in Zero Contact, when we introduce all of our characters. So my character, wants nothing to do with Finley Hart, wants nothing to do with Hart Enterprises, wants nothing to do with any of these people. All it has done is caused him stress, chaos, pain in his life. He's at a point now where he has his own family. He feels at peace. And then, of course, the past has to come, and he's got to essentially navigate these old wounds again. So when going through this, I absolutely knew that Sam had to make sure that he kept everybody at a safe distance, and he really had to ask the right questions to see if he could trust anybody. And so I think it definitely works for the viewer. Like, who do we trust? Do we even trust Sam? But for my character, I don't know who to trust. I can't trust any of these people.
Yeah, no, and it comes across so well. Which, by the way, you just gave more exposition than is in the entirety of that movie. So it's great. I feel like I know the movie better now, and those people should go see it now because they know more.
Please.
And so you guys are working on 2 and 3. Is that something that surprised you? You know, because I gotta be careful. The way the story ends,
Yeah.
were you excited at the opportunity that maybe we'll do a sequel, or was it more surprising that you're going to do a sequel? Where do you fall?
I mean, surprising for sure. I mean, Rick called me and said, you know, Sir Anthony Hopkins is involved. Oh my God, that's crazy. Amazing. Congratulations. That's fantastic. You know, maybe a week later, hey man, Tony's down to do 2. And if you're going to do 2, you might as well do 3. And I'm like, you know what, Rick, again, you're the captain, man. Just tell me where I got to be, when I got to be there, and I'll be there. It was very much a surprise. And for our audience, those of you who watch Zero Contact, A, thank you. And B, when we pick production up again on 2 and 3, we would like to reward our viewers and also the characters in this film with, we are going to no longer be stuck in a Zoom box. We're going back to conventional filming. We're going to take our audience all around the world. And if you just one taste, we finished shooting a location, Antarctica, in December of last year. And so that's just a taste of where Rick Dugdale wants Zero Contact 2 and 3 to live.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about why you'll be able to shoot in so many places, but are there any, so, I mean, obviously Antarctica, that's crazy because who shoots in Antarctica, first of all?
Nobody.
Are there any other places that you'd like to see this go, and locations you'd like to shoot at?
I know of the places, and I won't tell you, but I will tell you that we are going to take you to some of the most beautiful and ancient places that our beautiful Earth has to offer.
That's outstanding. I'll take it. When I was talking with Alex, he gave me a question to ask you.
Yeah.
About what was it like sleeping with a Yeti in Antarctica?
Yeah, totally. And I think that the real question for him is, how can he sleep without my presence? Because I think I was the calming presence in that tent most nights. But yeah, no, Alex is just literally a freaking Yeti with a bigger heart than his head. And it was a blast to be able to meet him in person. We've kind of been broing out on Instagram, and now we obviously text each other all the time. And he is just a sweet human being. And so was everybody that went to Antarctica with us. But it was bunking with Alex in a tent in Antarctica while we're shooting was I couldn't say a dream come true because it wasn't anything I could have even imagined, but the reality of it could have very well been a dream.
Outstanding. Is there, well, you know, we're here at the end. Any projects that you want to talk about? Anything that, you know, you have coming up that you want people to check out or keep an eye out for?
You know, right now it's Zero Contact's the last project I have. We're working on 2 and 3. I'm auditioning all the time, working on music, and I also teach acting when I'm not being an actor. So those are kind of the things that I'm focused on right now. And
where the social media? Where can people follow you? How can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. That's where I drop everything, whether it be news about acting or music or just kind of, you know, whatever the stuff that's happening. So anyway, Christopher _M as in Michael _ Brochu. You have the little green blue check mark you know it's me. Hit me up. You know, stay tuned, I suppose.
Awesome. And now, you know, for 2 and 3, you're gonna have to come back because we're gonna have to talk about all the locales and all the craziness, more camping stories and tents and Yetis. We gotta talk about it all. Chris, man, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. You are amazing. I'm so excited to see more stuff you're doing. I'll give you the last 2 seconds here to say goodbye to the audience, and then we will toss it to a break.
Copy that, Michael. Appreciate you having me, brother. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the questions. To all of your listeners, those of you who have served in the Army, thank you for your service, or any of the forces. Thank you for your service. Check out Zero Contact on the 27th. We're streaming on Apple TV, select theaters, and let us know your thoughts about it. I appreciate the time.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll be right back with more after this. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, brother.